before I get to that, Coaster Bro, I know you wanted to do mascots this episode, but I think your
Right.
viewers would really like it a little better if we talked Scrambler facts.
Okay,
I don't think I
yes.
can convince you to change all of this, so I'm just going to assault you with some Scrambler
Yeah.
facts throughout the show,
Fair
whether you want
enough.
to hear them or not. And then I'll get to my pick. But I'm going to start off with the fact that we probably all know, even though if you're not a Scrambler enthusiast, it's the inventor of the Scrambler. But maybe some of your listeners aren't familiar and need a refresher. But the inventor of the Scrambler was a man named Levi S. Scrambler, and he was born in 1932 is when he invented it. He was a kind of an inventor, but he was incarcerated often, in and out of jail for a number of issues. I think public indecency was his main kind of issue that he had with the law. But he actually, little known fact, he got the idea from the Scrambler. He said from a startling nightmare after a long night of drinking with his cousins. So there you go. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you've heard that before, but
did you say his last name was Scrambler?
No, his name it's Levi S. Middle initial S, last name Scrambler.
Excellent.
Crambler. But yeah, Levi, the inventor of the Scrambler. Coaster Bro, did you know that the long lever on a Scrambler is actually called a Levi lever? That's what they used to brake the ride. But in the early days of the Scrambler, they didn't have brakes on the Scrambler. They have to just rely on the inertia of the ride to slow down, which meant sometimes took as long as 20 minutes for a ride to stop after it started on the Scramblers of the olden times. Now they countered that because that did make a lot of people sick. They would hand out buckets to riders as they got on the ride for them to use if they needed to throughout the course of the ride slowing down. Once it finally slows down, you can hop out and, they don't have to hose down the ride every time. So there's my Scrambler fact. And got another Scrambler fact for you guys. The first Scrambler actually had no name. The locals in the city he's from, which was Kite, Georgia, they nicknamed his Scrambler Levi's pentagram machine in honor of the kind of pattern that the Scramblers move in. If you look at it from down, it's kind of a pentagram shape. So that was kind of the first name, and he actually built it from mostly airplane parts. But here's something that is a little known fact, because I'm sure you guys probably already knew that already. A lot of the steel for the first Scrambler came from a local cutlery factory that had shut down. Turns out they had, as the story goes, produced 5 times as many spoons as they had forks. So they had a huge extra amount of spoons. Levi was able to purchase those in bulk very cheaply, melt that down, and that actually became the steel for the first Scrambler. Now, currently, modern day times, there is one traveling carnival up from Michigan called the Milton Rides and Entertainment Carnival. And actually, if you bring a spoon with you to that carnival, to the Scrambler ride there, they will trade, instead of using a ride ticket, you can use a spoon to get on their Scrambler in honor of that sort of quirky fact from history.
Is any of this true?
Absolutely, yes. So
I'm going to fact check this right now.
You can definitely feel free to check the Scrambler wiki database. Got another Scrambler fact on tap for you. This is one a lot of people won't find this one on the internet. This is kind of just circulated in the Scrambler community, but now everyone does know that on every Scrambler there's a plate that signifies where it was manufactured, what year it was manufactured it in, what kind of plant it came from. Actually, on the back of all those plates, tradition has it that there's a Latin phrase on the back of all those plates that says, I'm not very good at Latin, but I'm going to try and say it, necessaria est machina infernalis, which translates to the necessary infernal machine, a phrase that Levi S. Scrambler often used to describe his creation. To my pick, I want to let you guys know the tallest Scrambler on the planet. It's not the one you think. It's actually privately owned by a collector. Ambrew Gelton, a Scrambler enthusiast, owns the tallest Scrambler. It's a whopping 41 feet tall. and it was custom built by Gelton's brother Robert, who actually died suddenly after its construction was completed. Now, Ambrew refuses to allow anyone to see the ride. He's actually built a 42-foot wall around it he says, to keep the paparazzi out. But it is said on a clear day you can see the world's tallest scrambler from the International Space Station. So if you ever make it up there, you can take a look at it. A little more information about Mr. Scrambler, Levi. He actually took his Scrambler on the road, building revised models every year or two after the first one. And they added some of the common features that you see today, like seatbelts and locking doors and lights, that sort of thing. One thing that was included for a few models that didn't actually catch on was a fishing pole. Now, you guys may be familiar with the carousels that have the ring, the gold ring that you can try and grab as you go by. Levi had this idea of putting these fishing poles on each car, and you could try and catch an item off the rider in front of you. So maybe you could grab their hat with the fishing pole. These had real hooks in them. You could try to get their hat, maybe their scarf, maybe a purse. The Scrambler rider code at the time was that if you caught it, you get to keep it. Didn't work out real well for him. Obviously, there's some danger issues there with swinging around fishing lines with hooks on it. So that feature did not stick around. But there you go, little known fact. Actually, in 1940, during one of Levi's frequent trips to Wyoming, now full disclosure, Levi, there's a lot of things that Levi did that no one endorses. Consequently, there's things that are illegal in Wyoming. That's why he was taking trips to Wyoming. But Levi was actually propositioned there by a bridge salesman named Eli. Now, Eli saw the Scrambler machine that Levi had built and was very impressed by it. But actually, the story goes, Eli had a very debilitating disorder, very rare condition where it caused him to mistake common things for bridges. That's how he got into the bridge industry. He had actually mistaken the Scrambler for a new type of bridge, as the story goes. Eli paid $12,000 for the patent to the Scrambler and all 4 working models to Levi. Very happy about it. Returned back to his company, the Eli Bridge Company, which was actually obviously a bridge building company at the time. He brought in the patent and these machines and was ready for his employees to see them, and was very hyped up about how they were going to revolutionize the bridge company, the bridge industry. Obviously, eventually they all realized that once again, Eli had brought back something that he thought was a bridge that wasn't a bridge. They were forced to kind of bite the bullet, spin off a division for amusement park rides. That's how they got the Eli Bridge Company as it is today. And that's really the only division left of the company. So that's the origins of the Eli Bridge Company. Speaking of drip, Coaster Bro, fun fact, goat plasma. Levi was always a big animal lover. That's why he was in Wyoming so often. And the patent for the Scrambler actually calls for every Scrambler to be painted with, you can pick any color choice that you want. A lot of places go with like a green or a light blue, or you see all kinds of different colors. But the paint, if you go by the patent, you are supposed to put a small vial of goat blood into the paint. And that's Levi did that with the first Scrambler back when it was called the pentagram machine, Levi's pentagram machine.
No cap.
And if you are a true Scrambler owner, aficionado, you paint it with that goat blood today. And there are ways you can get that without causing harm to the animal. So I do want to throw that out there. You don't have to go murder a goat to paint your Scrambler. You can obtain the blood in other ways. Many people think the worst Scrambler accident happened in 1968. We've all heard of the stories of this in Eindhoven in the Netherlands. The large grand piano that was hanging over the Scrambler ride at the carnival there that fell, and tragically there were some fatalities there. But that's actually not the worst Scrambler accident. Little known fact. 1987, there was a Scrambler disaster in the then Soviet Union, and it happened actually in the my geography terms are real limited here, archipelago of Novaya Zemlya. I've never been there personally, but I'm sure it was a great place. So there they were having the state's first and what ended up being the last festival, the Yuzhny, where the Kremlin was showcasing their one-of-a-kind nuclear-powered Scrambler. It was very dangerous, not tested. The Soviet Union was having all kinds of nuclear problems at that time, but they were trying to keep up with all of the advancements going on in Western Europe with it, all the amusement rides and parks that were popping up there. They wanted to compete. This untested design, they put it out there. From what I've heard, it was a faulty lap bar pin that caused the accident. Catastrophic fault, resulted in a blast that killed almost all the fairgoers, 498. Soviet Union tried to cover this up for years. It eventually did get out. A lot of Scrambler enthusiasts, I'm not one of them, so I don't think it's very tasteful, but some of them refer to this event as the Scram Noble event. It was, I don't think it's something to laugh about. It was a terrible thing. You'll notice there's no nuclear scramblers out there in the wild today. No one's going to try that again. I want to tie up the loose ends on our Scrambler facts before we do that. You may be asking what happened to Levi, his final fate. So after he sold his Scrambler patent to the Eli Bridge Company, Levi S. Scrambler, his mental health around 1940 or so began to take a nosedive. His mental health was taking a turn for the worst. There's a record of some Eli Bridge Company employees who started getting letters from Levi. There are very intense letters, very nonsensical, confusing to read, but they seem to he seemed to be trying to sort of warn them about the Scrambler design. From what they could get out of these letters was that he was warning them, trying to say that the Scrambler was more than an amusement park device. And he claimed that originally, and he didn't reveal this when he sold it, but he claimed that a demon had forced him to design the machine, and that, quote, the demon told him, quote, it would unsheath a portal to the hell dimension, the Scrambler would, unquote. He hadn't told anyone that until these letters. You recall that he originally got this idea for the Scrambler from a nightmare, but no one really understood these letters at the time, and still really no one does today. His letters demanded that all Scramblers be disassembled, buried underground, but his warnings were written off as sort of the rantings of an alcoholic madman. Shortly after these letters started coming, they stopped. 18 months later, Levi himself disappeared. No trace, no note left where he had gone. No record of his death exists. So it's kind of a modern mystery. The inventor of the Scrambler, where did he go? What happened to him? We may never know.
I've never heard of this.
It's not widely circulated because it is kind of a darker piece of the Scrambler history, but it is one that if you visit your local library, maybe they have a Scrambler history book, you might be able to find these details there.
I can't even find this online, so oh my gosh.
Well, we talked about Scram Noble, that was expunged from the internet by the what's left of the Soviets.
There actually is a book at my library, and it's hot to the touch, and it's leather bound.
Oh man. And it's a Scrambler book?
Yes. Yeah. Oh very eerie noise coming from it too. Okay, well,
it might bring it to a church or a priest. Okay, maybe they can help. I don't know. I'm not an expert on demonology or that sort of thing. Just Scramblers for me.